Oh, hey. You remember how I kept saying that I was going to try to update more with vlogs and stuff like that? And I totally didn't. I totally flaked out on all that. Yeah, sorry. So what have I been up to? I don't think I've updated with a vlog for like 2 months. What have I been up to? Just living life, just doing whatever, and that's basically it. That's part of the problem, is that I've kind of just been getting used to life out here in the country, life out here in general. And I think that there's more to say whenever you're just getting used to something, and a lot less to say whenever time goes on. Like if there's like a travel blog or something like that, or travel vlog, you're constantly going from place to place to place, and so there's there's a lot more to say. And I think that's something that has been talked about before, is that I haven't really talked about it before, but basically there's more to say, and so people end up like exaggerating their lifestyle. They'll do something along those lines. People will end up doing all sorts of other kind of crazy crap, just trying to make their life out to be more exciting than it really is. And so it's kind of tough just to even turn on the camera and say what you're going to say whenever you don't really think that you have that much to say. And I've run into that before as well. There's a lot of people that will go into boot camp and whatever, and they'll pop through on the other side, and that is something that is statistically fantastic. It doesn't matter if they're Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, Navy, Army. It doesn't matter what branch that they're in or anything. Whenever you've gotten through all of that training and gotten through on the other side, that's statistically something that's very, very special. But whenever you're part of a group of people who've all done the same thing, you kind of feel like you haven't done anything special. The idea of being humble for these sorts of situations, it's not really that you're being humble, it's just that you're around people who have all done the same thing. So you can't exactly brag about it or anything. And that's one of the other things. I've really tried to stay to the humble principle and stay with humility and the like. And I've really tried to stick with it as much as possible. And excuse me. But yeah, so with the whole camper situation, with me living in a camper and whatnot, I could really dramatize it and exaggerate it and state that, I'm homeless and I'm a homeless veteran and it's the super worst thing ever, but it's not. And I'm not. According to the HUD-VASH and the Veterans Affairs and stuff like that, I don't qualify as being homeless. And I certainly don't feel like I'm homeless either. Yeah, this is a 100 square foot camper, but I spent the better part of from late 2017 to basically February of this year in a 450 square foot studio apartment. And nobody really had any trouble with that. Nobody really had any problems with that. But it's still an extraordinary situation, and I have to keep that in mind. Whenever it comes to college students and the like, most of them, they don't live somewhere where they get to mess around with possibly throwing down some seeds in the yard and seeing if they can grow something. They have building restrictions, and I really don't. I could make a log cabin if I had the time and the wherewithal to really get through it all, and stuff like that. So it's all what it is. I try to take it as a whole situation instead of summarizing it and just saying, Hey, I'm living in a camper. Isn't that awful, guys? Isn't that really, really bad? Isn't that the worst thing in the world? And no, it's not at all. Um, you know, um, if I've been camping many, many times, both inside and outside of the military, and I am really focusing on the Army ROTC because obviously the Navy doesn't like camping outside too overly often. Not whenever I was with them, in the capacities that I was with them, at least. But whenever you're camping and you're camping in a camper, they like to call that glamping, you know. And at the end of the day, people go on vacation to camp. So it's like I said, there's really something along the lines of there's something special about my situation. I'm still doing a lot better than most college students. Most college students are sharing a tiny dorm with a lot of other people. They're doing stuff like that. And, point positive, I'm not. I'm here because of the generosity of, family members, of very close family members who have managed to, give me a place to live, and they've done so many other things for me. It's been ridiculous, and so I'm grateful. I just spoke to my grandfather the other day, and he said that whenever he was looking for a camper to buy me, he wanted to buy me a camper to put out here because the trailer was such a mess, and it really is. Whenever he spoke to me, he said that he wanted to buy me a camper, but he managed to just buy like the first one that was available, and he wanted to buy me one that was better. It's like, and I immediately told him, like, you don't need to do stuff like that. I'm obviously going to be able to survive, and whatever I get thrown, whatever bone that they throw me, I'm gonna be able to chew on it and survive. But also at the same time, to feel bad because you can't get me a good enough camper, that's ridiculous. I'm absolutely going to be very grateful for what I have, and I am very grateful for what I have. And there's a lot more in here that works than I thought, that I expected. And I didn't expect this in the first place. They had thrown around the idea of possibly letting me live out here, and I said I could fix up the trailer, and that was biting off more than anybody in my entire family could chew. And they've very much admitted to that fact. But they also threw around the idea of letting me stay in the garage, but they settled on the idea of this camper. And all of it was more than I expected. All of it was more than I wanted. All of it was more than I could ever expect or dream of. So I'm very, very grateful for the life I have out here. And that's also why there's so little to report. Because I've been living out here. I've just been living. And so there's several little things that I've done and put into place. At first, I was told that if you lose a position, a job of any kind of type, and you do it because of a move, if you're a military spouse and you do it because you're moving, then you qualify for unemployment. Nobody could really nail that down and say, whether or not it's the right thing or whatever, whether or not that's something that's absolutely true, but I figured that it wouldn't hurt. So I went on Military One Source, and they said that if you're going to do it in the area that you moved in. I said, okay, well, I moved from California, San Diego, whenever my ex-wife was stationed down there. And I said, so I guess I'm going to apply for it in California. I probably could have applied for it in Bremerton as well, in Washington, where she was for a time, where her ship moved, but I never went down to Washington. I've still never been to that state in my entire life. But so I applied in California. Somebody called me on the phone. They said that I was going to get back unemployment all the way back to February. They said that it's going to be like 600 or 800 a week, and an extra like 600 or something from the government or something like that. And I said that, Jesus Christ, that's a ton of money. But I guess whatever. But none of it ever came. And maybe it's just because that I was misled for those benefits. I wasn't going to get my my hopes up and say, oh my God, I'm going to get like a ton of money and I'm going to be able to do whatever the hell I want. So I wasn't going to get my hopes up about it, and I also, it was just something that I've been told to apply to. That's something that I've had to speak to others as well in the past, is whenever I was leaving Tinker Air Force Base in 2011, whenever I was leaving my active duty contract because it was expiring, I was there for 4 years. I served for 4 years. Not at Tinker Air Force Base, but in the United States Navy active duty. Whenever I was leaving, they sent me to the Transition Assistance Program, TAPS class, they like to call it. And in that program, they tell you to, as soon as you leave, as soon as you are done with your active duty contract, you need to apply for unemployment insurance, and you need to apply for, you need to make sure they have all of your records down at the VA, so you can use their facilities, and you need to get checked from head to foot, even if you don't think that there's anything wrong with you. You need to get checked from head to foot to make sure that there's nothing disabling you and stuff like that. And I did all the above. They told me specifically this was the military, this was TAPS class. The military gave me the time off from work to go to TAPS class, and I believe I had the option of going there like 2 or 3 times, and it's still free. And very recently, they changed all the rules that most bases around the world now allow veterans on. So I can still go to TAPS class. I can go to TAPS class again. I went to TAPS class again in 2013 whenever I was still, I was no longer part of reserve components, but my card was still good, my reservist card, and so I went there, and I went through D-bids and everything, which is what they have down at the gate, so they let me in. And so I went to TAPS class again at Scott Air Force Base in 2013 after the government shutdown, because I figured, if the government shutdown was going to take away all of my benefits and everything, which it did, and get me deported from South Korea, which it did, and I only came back with the help of, family members, friends, and the help of the American Embassy in Seoul, South Korea. Without the help of these people, I wouldn't have gotten back. I was sleeping in subways. I was, and not like the restaurants, like the subways where, subways are, public transportation. But I was doing that in South Korea because the government shut down and they cut off all of my benefits. It was bad. All of it was bad. So I went to the TAPS class at Scott Air Force Base, and they reiterated all of that. They did it all again and said, hey, as soon as you get out of active duty, you need to apply for unemployment insurance and get checked for disabilities and stuff like that. Whenever I was first told that in Tinker Air Force Base in right around Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, it has its own zip code, and it's a large base. That all of the Air Force bases are, obviously. It's an airport and a military base at the same time. And whenever I was first told that, the coordinator was a government contracted employee, and he was a veteran himself. He didn't think anything was wrong with him, but it turned out that he had tinnitus. He was an Army mechanic. He was working, did most of his work in Germany and he said he got 50% disability from it. He said, hey, even if you don't think that you need the money, it's something that you can give to your family. It's something that you can give to your friends. It's money that you earned and everything. And it's the same thing with unemployment insurance. Whenever it comes to unemployment insurance, that comes out of your taxes. You've already earned it. If you're a United States citizen, you've already earned it. Hell, if you're a citizen of other countries, it's kind of the same way. We'll take this sort of negative viewpoint in the media about immigrants coming to our country for whatever reason, but then it's a smart thing to do whenever you go somewhere that has free health care to fix a broken arm, or to get an operation that you wouldn't be able to afford, or to go somewhere else where they have free school and take school there, or something like that. And they don't complain about it. So I really don't get that kind of rhetoric. I really don't. I don't understand it. It doesn't affect anybody. I don't understand that rhetoric. But that's besides the point. So plenty of things have sort of happened. I signed up for unemployment insurance coming out of California. That really didn't pan out. They haven't even clarified the position on it. I'm guessing that it's just not something for me. I'm guessing I was misled by the suggestions that I've had that I could dig up from the internet, just Google searches. I applied here in Illinois. Maybe I was supposed to do it in Illinois, and I haven't heard anything back from them either. Even this past year or so, dealing with the ex-wife, she had asked me if I'm disabled, which, I'm taking atomoxetine, I'm taking sertraline, I'm taking atorvastatin, and I'm taking hydroxyzine, atomoxetine, sertraline, yeah. I'm taking all that, so obviously I have, 3 mental conditions and high blood pressure, for each of them. And I've got, all of the pills right here and everything, as you can see. I try to make an antenna so I can get better signal. Hasn't worked out yet, but I got a lot of other YouTube videos to watch, and hopefully one of them will work. But so I'm taking all of these. So yes, I do have mental disabilities, but I think I've mentioned it before. It was so hard just to go into the VA in the first place. Then after going into the VA and finally, being brave enough to do all of that, it was during that time that is really represented in, I believe the movie is called Thank You for Serving or something like that. And it was a time that over the years, the VA got into a lot of trouble, put people on secret waiting lists, threw out, disability claims. They did all this kind of stuff, and it was a nightmare for every veteran that was going to the VA at that point in time. So nothing came of it, and it wasn't until late 2017. I mean, you can ask anybody that I know. You can ask family members. You can ask friends. You can ask anybody on my, Facebook, which is public for anybody to look at. You can ask anybody that, obviously there was something wrong with Motley, and that was obvious from ground zeros, and that's exactly what the VA said as well. They said, hey, you've got these disabilities, but I don't think it's our fault. And I said, okay, but, where do we go from here? And I just did my treatment. I didn't really seek out anything because of it. But over the past year dealing with the ex-wife, she said, hey, if you're disabled, shouldn't you be getting some sort of, paycheck or something like that? Shouldn't you be getting some sort of disability money? And I said, well, I haven't really thought about it, because the last time I thought about it, I was coming out of out of active duty, and I got attacked. I was called so many different names and everything. And I would use a different word if I was physically beaten or something like that. There's no scars or anything from it, but many people didn't like me because I went and applied for unemployment. Many people didn't like me because I went to the VA, because I did what I was told, because I followed orders. People didn't like me. My mother attacked me because of that. My friends, old family members attacked me because of that. I was accused of doing everything under the sun, all because I, followed orders. And suddenly I was surrounded by civilians, and so I had nobody backing me up. It was just me, and it was ridiculous. But that's besides the point. And so I since I hadn't really thought about it, I started to go. Eventually, I couldn't do it through traditional means. I haven't trusted the VA for a long time, for at least for that regard, and the VBA in particular, the benefits side of the house. So I went ahead and I started trying to do it through sort of traditional means, and I caught up with a company that was going to be able to do it for in a lot more streamlined manner, and would probably have greater success. And they still have requirements on top of everything else. I'd already given everything to a veteran group of people in 2013, and they hadn't done anything with it. And they sent me a mailing that said that their jurisdiction over it had expired, and they wanted me to renew. I said, no, I'm not going to renew whenever nothing's happened with it in the past 7 years. So I started working with this new company, but, I have no income whatsoever. I'm not making money doing anything. So without any sort of income whatsoever, it was a bust from ground zero. If they wanted me to pay for anything at all with this new company, a mental health screening or any type of screening, if they wanted me to pay co-pays on anything, I was up the creek without a paddle. So I just, pushed it through the very traditional way of just, this time I did everything myself. It took a little while to push everything through, but now I'm waiting for a response. And on top of that, I can still work with that new company whenever I get the assets to do so. So that kind of brings me to my next point. I went down to the college. First and foremost, I started, there was a little Vice documentary on YouTube that did a profile on old Matthew Lesko, who is the guy that he used to get on TV and with a question mark suit, a suit covered in question marks, and scream about how he's going to get money from the government for you. And he was selling like a book on how to get money from the government. And that used to be like a commercial all the time. Everybody kind of knows who he was. And Vice did a little miniature documentary on it. He's still doing this crap. He's in his 70s. And he's just as genuine gets. He's not a scam artist at all. And anymore, it's even more prevalent and apparent and transparent that he's not a scam artist. That he's really, really genuine. So I ended up, in like January, I ended up purchasing a month of his website subscription and not really being able to do anything with it because I was just so busy during that month. And then I did what I could with it, with all that information. And later on, I found out that allowed me to go onto his Facebook group, his private Facebook group. I asked him a question directly, and I was like, hey, I want to move towards graduate level degrees. I'm trying to find private student loans because that's at least temporary income for the fall. And I told him all of this. And I said, do you know of any other veteran benefits that I haven't used yet? Or any other way that I could go about doing this? And he answered me directly, gave me a little bit of help directly. And it was really his mindset. He always says, like, hey, apply for every government benefit that you can find. Whether or not you think it applies to you, it's up to them to know who they're giving their money to. It's up to them to say whether or not it applies to you. So, like the EIDL and stuff like that, the PPP and all this other kind of stuff that has come out from the government, a lot of people are not applying to it because they just don't think that it applies to them. Even my grandparents, who have owned a farm and been entrepreneurs since, the late 1600s or something like that, way back in the day. They've basically been farmers their entire lives. They didn't think that it applied to them because they don't have any employees officially, and I say that, every now and again somebody helps them out, if somebody mows their lawn or something like that, they'll, slip them a 20 or something like that. It's just, that's not an employee. I used to do the same thing because I had a homeowners association in East Alton, and they fined you if you didn't mow the lawn, and somebody stole my lawnmower, so I paid a kid from the neighborhood to do it, $20 every other week or something. But that's not an employee. But anyways, they didn't apply to it, and they said, old Matthew Lesko, he said that applies to everybody. It's if you're a sole proprietor, if you're an independent contractor, if you're the guy that mows the lawn, you're an independent contractor. If you're the kid that mows the lawn, you're an independent contractor. And as long as you are of age, then it applies to you. So apply to everything. And I really took that mindset to heart. And it also turned out that he was a veteran himself. He's a Vietnam War veteran. He has a whole story about it. Tried to dodge the draft by going to college. Graduated college. Vietnam War was still going on. He applied to graduate school. His grades weren't good enough. So before he got drafted for the Army, he joined the Navy instead. Ended up being sent to OCS, Officer Candidate School, and he became a submarine, like a spy submarine commander for however long his contract was for. So he's got this big ridiculous thing. He doesn't like pound his chest and say like, "Hey, I was a veteran and I should have all this kind of stuff," and blah blah blah. He's very, very humble about it. He almost never brings it up, but I just happened to catch it in one of his interviews, and I looked it up. Either way, so I took that mindset to heart. I went to the school. The school said that they were giving away money through the CARES Act for all the different college students. So I said, hey, that was months ago whenever you said that. So how am I supposed to get that money? Do I have to do something? And they said that I, in particular, didn't qualify for it because of the status I was in, that I had to qualify for federal student loans. And like I said before, federal student loans are only given out to people who haven't completed a degree plan yet. If you've completed a degree plan and you're still taking classes at community college because you didn't satisfy all of the pre-med requirements to get into the medical school of your choice, then you're just taking those extra classes, pro bono. You're doing that crap out of pocket. Whatever benefits that you have, that's what you're using. Same thing with the university. Any undergraduate courses, it's all going to be pro bono. Federal student loans don't give you money to go to college just like indefinitely to earn 1 million bachelor's degrees or to earn whatever, but so I didn't qualify. But they had another program up. It was an emergency fund or something like that, and it was supposed to be for the internet and for internet access. Now I've been through hell and high water trying to get internet access out here for any good length of time. For a little while, it was the AT&T Wi-Fi hotspot, but there's a little bit of small print on there. They said, hey, we're not going to cut off anybody's access to our services, and that was a pledge taken by a lot of different cell phone companies. So they said, hey, we're not going to cut off anybody's access to anything. So I got a Wi-Fi hotspot, and then they said, like, there's going to be no overage charges for anybody during this period of time. But as it turned out, there was fine print saying that applies to everybody except somebody who had a Wi-Fi hotspot. So now I have a bill from AT&T that says that I owe them over $9,000. I didn't get with AT&T at all. I had a track phone whenever I lived in a studio apartment in Alton. So I didn't get with AT&T at all until I was already moving here in February. So somehow or another, I owe AT&T over $9,000. I know that sounds ridiculous, and if I had the bill around here, I would just show you. Oh, what's this? Oh my goodness. Found one of my old games. This is an old one. But yeah, that's over 5,000. It racked up to over 9,000. So that was the first thing, and yeah, AT&T, they cover the area, but they didn't, tell me they were going to charge me all those overages and then not cut off my service, because they said they're not cutting off any services for the Keep America Connected pledge or something like that. So I don't have $9,000, so they don't get paid $9,000. They don't get paid anything because I don't have it. So then I switched over to US Cellular, because guess what? They use AT&T network. And it was hell and high water trying to get the antennas just right, and just to get a signal out here. But at the end of the day, and I was going to switch it out for regular internet service in the area, but they took forever to get out here, and then they said, hey, we can't get any signal. Then I tried a different service. First it was Illinois Rural, I believe, and they couldn't get any signal past all of these trees. 5G apparently doesn't have much penetrating power, can't get through all the trees around here. Then there was another group that came out here, I think it was Royale, and they said that they couldn't get any signal. They tried all over the place. I was offered satellite internet, but it was going to cost me $400 for the install, and that couldn't be prorated or anything else. So I was absolutely up the creek without a paddle. And I said, so the emergency fund down at Lewis and Clark Community College was for lots of little things, but one of them was internet access. So I told him my situation. I sent him a screenshot of the over $9,000 bill. I think they said that they had $15,000 in the fund almost immediately for the emergency fund, but I didn't want to use up $15,000. I don't think AT&T should get $9,000 from anybody for usage over a term of 4 months or something like that. That's ridiculous. Nobody should pay that bill. And any sort of consumer advocate would hear this, it could watch this video and go, what the hell is that, and just start bearing down on it. That's abusive practices. That's blah blah blah. It's a ridiculous whatever. And I was doing as much as possible. I was downloading videos of Wi-Fi hotspots and then watching them at home. I wasn't streaming. I wasn't playing video games online. I haven't been on Twitch or anything. It's absolutely ridiculous. Over $9,000 for that bill. So no, I don't think anybody should pay it. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. And if I had any sort of consumer advocacy representative with me, they would absolutely tear AT&T a new one, because it's ridiculous. So I didn't think that they should pay that. But my US Cellular bill was only like $160 before they cut it off. So I figured that maybe they can go that route. Or maybe they can find something else that's better in the area, or something like that. So I told them my situation, sent them the screenshots, and then they got back to me and they said, hey, how about this? I told them, I only have 6 credits left on my Illinois Veterans Grant. I'm not sure if I could starve myself into losing a good 50 pounds that I need to lose in order to get back into Army reservist shape and rejoin the Army so that I can get all this kind of stuff paid for. I don't know whether or not the Army would want me. I don't know whether or not they would need me or anything. I don't know whether or not they would let me in because I'm mentally ill and I have 3 different illnesses, and that's just the mental illnesses and high blood pressure, and I take pills for all of this. What are they going to send me to boot camp with a big pile of pills? Or are they going to send me to boot camp and I just don't take my pills the entire time? What do I lie to them or something? Or something like that? I don't want to get into all that. That's not, none of it makes much sense. But, like anybody else, you could have just been kicked out of the military with a bad conduct discharge, and they would still send you, stuff from the recruiter saying that we want you or whatever. You could be a 70-year-old man and they'll still send those things out. So whatever. Either way. So, I told them my situation. I told them possible solutions that I've explored. And they said, well, hey, how about this? How about we give you a gas card? And you can drive down and use the Wi-Fi hotspot on campus, maintain your social distancing and everything. Yes, sweat or freeze on a hot car, but, with a gas card, it really wouldn't matter. I could run the car the entire time. It all depends on how much there is in the gas card, of course, and I try to, budget it as much as possible, but go down and use this gas card to get back and forth from campus. If there's any classes that go on campus or whatever. I said I only have 6 credits left in my Illinois Veterans Grant. And they said, well, we'll help you pay for whatever classes that you have left. So I've been in communication with them back and forth. In the spring semester of this year, I took it was like a Chem 2 class. It was Chemistry 2. There was like an introduction to chemistry, there was like Chem 1, and then there was Chem 2. And they had a couple of things, according to the United States, or the Uniformed Services University of Healthcare Sciences pre-med prerequisites page. They said that they want like a year of academic chemistry and lab and a year of biochemistry or organic chemistry and lab. And I took something that had biochemistry in the name, so hopefully that counts. And I took it, 2 different chemistry classes so far, but the Chem 2 or whatever that I was supposed to take in the spring, I took it and I ended up dropping out. I just wasn't doing well, and they allowed us to drop out all the way to the end of the semester. So they said, hey, take an F or take a W. Which one? And W's don't affect your GPA. So I said, I'll take the W, and then I'll try again. And so today, I went up there and they said, hey, we're waiting to give you the gas card. So, because you're not registered. They said, go get registered. So I went and got registered for the Chem 1 class. I also took a Science of Happiness class because I misread studentaid.gov and their guidelines for getting a student loan deference. And they said that it's 6 credits or more will get you a deference for that semester. So you don't have to pay student loans that semester. So I had taken 9 credits in the spring, which I only had to take 6 to get that student loan deference. And maybe that could have helped me out quite a bit to concentrate on only one thing while I'm going through an economic disaster and a pandemic. So I went and got registered, and then I went ahead and paid for it with the Illinois Veterans Grants with my last 6 credits of Illinois Veterans Grant. So now I've exhausted Post 9/11 GI Bill, I've exhausted Illinois Veterans Grant, and now I'm moving forward. So I told them the same thing, and I told them I had $27 of lab fees that I couldn't cover, and they said, we'll cover it, or we can help you cover it. And that's what they said through the email that they sent me. So again, I wanted maybe some internet access way out here in the country, but who gives a crap? They gave me a gas card that might prove to be even more valuable. Maybe I could, borrow a pickup truck from my grandparents at the farm and, do some deliveries or something, help somebody move. That might be literally even more valuable than what I had in mind. So who cares? I'm not gonna complain about the type of help that I'm receiving. That would be so selfish and so self-centered and everything. So, I'm not gonna do something like that. Obviously, I'm very grateful, and I've always loved Lewis and Clark Community College. Good God, if you ever get the chance to check it out, either online or in person, it's a college that's as old as time, as old as things can be here in America, which is such a new country. But it's as old as things can be around here. The place looks like a castle. It's absolutely, stupendous to look at. And the people there are nice. The staff there is nice. Everything about it is just so incredible. So I'm very excited to be going there again. I'm very excited that they're helping me out and everything. And they really didn't have to. They didn't have to do any of this. And so I'm very, very grateful. I'm going kind of long with this update. Sorry about that. Other things, my uncle who used to live here, not in the camper, but in the trailer before it became a repository for, raccoon shit. But my uncle came out here with a little miniature bulldozer that they use down there at, it's like a forklift, but there's a bunch of little attachments to it. It slices, it dices, it does whatever you want it to. But he went and he bulldozed most of this place. He mowed this whole entire place. Nobody asked him to do that. But, obviously I'm going to be very grateful because I bought a scythe off of Craigslist and then I finished de-rusting it and then it re-rusted because I didn't oil it because I have to peen it. First I have to bend it back into shape and then I have to peen it according to YouTube University. But you have to peen it, which is banging on the piece of metal. It's like banging on this part in order to push more metal upwards so that you can sharpen that metal that comes upwards and make it sharp again. So first I have to bend it back into shape because right now it's like this. And so I have to bend it back like that. And I do mean like this, not like this, like scythes are kind of supposed to look like. No, it's bent like this. So I have to bend it back like this, and I don't have a vice grip around here, so I'm going to have to go down to the farm and bend it like that. Then I'm going to have to peen it and, hit, parts of the metal until I scoot a little bit of metal up and cover up all the burrs. Burrs are kind of like a rite in the metal, and chips and burrs, like a chip, if you get a perfect or triangular Dorito and then somebody just bites off a piece of it and then it's not triangular anymore. So chips, what that is. Burrs, that's where the metal is supposed to be straight and then just one little piece of it when we pushed out or pulled in or something. So I gotta peen it, which also means that I have to make my own peening station, which is kind of like an anvil. This means I got to find a log, and I have to find something metal to bang the other metal against. And thankfully I do have a hammer, but that's about the full extent of it. Then I got to try to, de-rust it, and this time, put some oil on it. Then I can go out and I can finally start cutting grass. And I need to find everything that I need to take the reel mower, REEL, the reel mower, that I also got off of Craigslist right around February, and put it out there, because it can't cut grass that's too long. It has a little guide bar that cuts it all down. But so that's a lot of steps in between me and that. And I'm applying for everything under the sun. Like I said, I applied for everything involving the VA disability again. Pushed all through that. I pushed all that through myself this time. Taking personal care of it, not relying on anybody else. Pushed it all through myself. And did the same for Social Security. They said to do it with Social Security as well. So I did that. And I'm still waiting for responses back, but at least I'm back in Chem 2 for the fall semester down at Lewis and Clark Community College. I'll be back doing the pre-med stuff. I wish I could have gotten into a graduate program, because then I might have been able to get some student loans, and have a little bit of spending money, and I could be a little bit more creative with what I can do around here, have a little bit less worries, but it's all fine. Applied for food stamps. I got food stamps now, which means that, I'm going to have to make my own cat kibble, because that's not something that you can buy on food stamps. Apparently it's not that complicated to do. Don't worry, I'm not running out of cat food. It's just something that's an eventuality. They don't like the cat food that they have. They prefer more expensive cat food, but I'm going to see if I can't make something that they'll prefer themselves. Definitely won't be as long lasting, but here's hoping. And get them, find out what kind of people food they can eat. Sorry. But yeah, that's sort of the updates. Did some other stuff. I took back as much as I could. I'm trying to sell things on eBay one at a time. All of my old stuff that I don't need. Doing other little things. I've got 3 out of the 4 pallets that's going to form the floor of the cabin, nice and level out there. But I haven't been concentrating on it because I don't have any sort of income, and so I still want to, apply for programs and stuff like that just in case. And I'm not going to be really secure about these things until I have at least a little bit of money in the bank account, and I can really start to fool around and play with these things, see what else I can do. Maybe there's another sustainability program out there that I can take, since I already have my bachelor's in sustainability, and a lot of what I learned in sustainability became useful out here. Composting toilets, composting in general, all these other little things that have come in handy and really help with my survival out here. And I really think that it's a sustainable thing that can be given to others as well. There's no real reason for people to not, if they can, get a log cabin and live out in the woods. There's no real reason for people to slave away for ages at a job that they don't like. These things really just don't cost that much money. And there are sustainable lifestyles that are a little bit less. That's why a lot of people consider these alternative lifestyles. Living in a camper, living in an RV living, that's an alternative lifestyle. Living in a tiny house, that's an alternative lifestyle. And what is a tiny house? But usually an RV, it has to fit on the back of a trailer to be moved around. So usually it's just an RV by any other name, by any other shape. All these other sort of, it's living in a yurt, which it's a tent by any other name, but it works just fine. Living in a teepee, living in an earth ship, even living in a log cabin, especially one that you build yourself, is kind of an alternative lifestyle all by itself. But there's a million different ways to skin the cat here. And so this is definitely an alternative, and it's something that I do want to spread around. I really do think that it's a solution for a lot of people. I really do think that people are suffering in undue ways. People will say, I need the best schooling for my kid, and that's just not really the truth. We're not getting statistics back from private schools that justify the cost of private schools and private institutions. We're getting the same thing. There's alternatives to paying for college. Even there's alternatives for paying for college around here. The Blackburn College has famously allowed students to go there for free, basically, if they make under $45,000 a year. There's the University of People Online. So the kids don't need these things. And of course, it's probably going to be a lot healthier if the food comes out of the ground, rather than being packaged and stuff like that down at the local supermarket or something like that. So, slaving away because of a kid, take care of kids. I'm always going to be on that side. But that's probably not what they need. And it's probably not what they want either. They want to see their parents. I know that's what I wanted when I was a kid. I wanted to see my parents. I wanted my parents to be in a good mood. And so if they're coming back from their work and they're not happy, that they're not in a good mood, that's not what I wanted. And no amount of objects, no amount of stuff to buy was going to replace that. And I've seen far too many families living alternative lifestyles that end up with far better, their children end up far better off, their families end up far better off, they end up far better off. And I'm far better off here than I've been in a lot of different places as well. I've said it before, I sleep like a baby out here. There's something wrong with it, and I do have that freedom to experiment. If I chop down enough trees around here, I could make a log cabin, and no city council would care. I'm outside of city limits. Nobody cares what I do out here, and that's amazing, and that's not something that a lot of people get to experience. And so I do feel very lucky to be out here. I've adjusted to the day-to-day life out here. As soon as one of these programs comes through and I get a little bit of money in the bank account and things start to get back on traction for me, I'll be right back here. And I'll put down the last pallet that's going to, serve as the floor to the little cabin that I'm building. And then I will put up the walls, which is just 2 pallets nailed together end on end. I'll put up the walls. And it's an A-frame cabin, so the wall's going to be this way, and the wall's going to be the other way, forming a triangle, just like the Dorito that I spoke of earlier. And I wanted it to be where one side would be all wall, and the other side would be, 2 pallets nailed together up top, but the bottom part would be Tough-Tex polycarbonate sheeting, which it makes a big window, essentially. Allows a lot of light in, not too many downsides, very, very weatherproof, and it's plastic. It's very cheap. But even though it's very cheap, it's $16, $17 a sheet, and they're 4 foot long, so I would need 4 of them for that edge. So I can't remember the total. I don't remember if it's 60, but it's like 100 or something like that. I'm not sure. Then I got to go ahead and make the other 2 walls. It is an A-frame cabin, so I'll have to put up the other pallets and then shave them off to make that that A shape and everything, and put them together. And I don't think it's going to be too difficult, but until I get the polycarbonate sheeting I really don't want to mess with it before I get, a solid income of any type that I can really rely on that wouldn't pull me away from my studies. I'd like to, get it all done, but that's going to take precedence. I moved here in February. It was very cold, but I survived. The cat survived. I was able to get, stuff. The family is paying the electric bill and stuff like that. I try to not take huge advantage of it. I don't want their electric bill to go way up because I'm out here, with the door wide open, running the air conditioner and having the, refrigerator open and everything else. I don't want to, try to be a burden on purpose. But, school's going to come first. And that's, the next big adventure. So, that's the big updates, basically. I've been trying to get back into a workout routine. I've been trying a new diet. It's not really a diet. It's just I found out that in the medieval ages they made something called perpetual stew. They would have a cauldron. They would put stuff in it, and it would just always be hot. And the scientists have eventually venerated this practice, saying that if the food doesn't lower below a certain temperature for more than 5 hours, then that food will always remain able to be eaten. And so they said that, in the modern times, it's a lot easier to do that. Instead of trying to tend to this fire 24/7, in the modern times, you can just stick everything in a crock pot. So, my grandmother gave me a crock pot once I told her about the idea, and it was one of the best ideas I ever had. I throw any type of meat in there, any type of beans in there, and some kind of starch in there, and a can of vegetables, because, I don't have much room in the freezer for frozen vegetables and the little camper refrigerator that I have. I don't have that much room or whatever, so cans it is. And like I said, I got food stamps, and whenever you're basically eating rice and beans and vegetables, you've got your food groups covered, yes, a little bit of meat from time to time, then I'll probably end up losing weight on this diet because I just eat it, and then at the end of the day I soak up the juices with a little bit of flour, and I make what's called a journey cake. It's just flour and water. I'm on like day something. I think I'm on day 4 of my sourdough starter that I learned how to make through Adam Ragusia's video on YouTube. So that might be tastier and healthier in time. I think it's a way to get your probiotics, is you can do it through sourdough. You don't have to make yogurt. I used to make giant batches of yogurt in a studio apartment, and now I don't have the room for giant batches of yogurt. But it's a way to get your probiotics and whatnot. So that's going to be a little bit of healthier practice soon enough. And at the very end of the day, sometimes I'll have some Jell-O or some pudding, because a pack of Jell-O is like 35 cents. And no, it's not even brand name Jell-O. Yes, it is the generic thing off of the shelf. So because of that, that food stamp money, it stretches. I am eating well. I'm eating my fill. I'm eating solid, healthy food for the most part. I'm pretty sure the whole wheat flour and water. I'm pretty sure that not too many people have too many, not so nice things to say about that. Jell-O is like 35 calories a box or something, and it's made of gelatin, and you can get sugar-free varieties. Gelatin from bones. And besides that, I ran out of coffee. I was doing bulletproof coffee in the morning. I ran out of coffee. I switched over to green tea, and I don't know. I feel a little bit better with it. It doesn't stave off my appetite for as long as the bulletproof coffee did, but I don't know. I feel a little bit better with it, so I think I might just stick with that. So, coffee with 1 tablespoon of ghee, and a splash of coconut oil or MCT oil or something like that in it. So, green tea, 1 tablespoon of ghee, a splash of coconut oil or MCT oil. I don't think that's really going to hurt me. And like I said, into the crock pot, beans, rice, or some other starchy thing that I found that day. But, once I run out of all the stuff that I've had in the pantry for a long time, it's just going to be rice. So, beans, rice, a can of vegetables, and the occasional meat from time to time. Since I don't have much room in the freezer, I'll just get like one whenever I get it. And, Lewis and Clark Community College, they're going to give me this gas card so I can get back and forth from campus and use their Wi-Fi hotspots on campus, maintain social distancing, stay in my car, which doesn't have to be hot, it doesn't have to be cold, because they're providing the gas card, so maybe I can leave it running and run the heater or run the cooler or something. And my old workhorse of a 2011 Kia Soul is still running great. There's nothing wrong with it at all. So, so far so good. I think they were thinking correctly whenever they decided on the gas card instead of doing anything else. Because I don't need the internet here in the camper. I don't need it outside. And frankly, I think whenever I head out yonder and am stuck on campus with the Wi-Fi hotspot, I think it focuses me a little bit, because I don't have enough other things to mess around. I don't take a TV with me. I'll take the tablet and the laptop, and so I'll head out there and I'll do whatever. And then I'll download a video while I'm on campus. I'll download a couple videos while I'm on campus. And whenever I get home at the end of the day, I'll watch it. And I'll just leave the camper door open. I can't keep these cats in the camper. One, it's kind of cruel and unusual. It's a 100 square foot camper. It's bigger to them than it is to me, but still. And two, I just can't keep them in. They'll sneak out somehow. Last time I ran after them, I twisted my ankle something fierce and ended up going to the hospital, and they gave me friggin' crutches. So I can't keep them in the camper to save my life. So whenever I leave in the morning, I just leave the camper door open, and whatever happens, happens. I know that's dangerous to them or whatever. Wild animal might chase them all the way in the camper, and they try to hide and they can't hide. That's a possibility, but it's a very, very faint possibility. I just don't think it's going to happen. That's not what happens to anybody's animals around here. It doesn't happen to farm animals, so why the hell is it going to happen to apex predators? Which you might not think of house cats as apex predators, but tell that to the wildlife survey people, because they hate them. They tell you, neuter your stray cats for the love of God, because they're just awful to local environments. And my cats have already killed a smaller rabbit and a field mouse out there, so they're already taking their toll in the local area. I shouldn't laugh, but it's they're these cute little critters, and they're as deadly as can be to anything that's outside. They're just designed that way. I don't know. I can't help them. It's in their nature. But they are both spayed and neutered, so I did my part. So, yeah, everything's fine. Everything's great. May not sound great to you, but, that's your standards, man. Whenever it comes to absolute facts I'm doing way better than most college students. I'm doing way better than most people my age, especially those that are, working places that they don't want to work. People who aren't able to go to school for one reason or another. I'm doing a lot better than, most of the people that would be in similar situations to me. I've got, access to healthcare. I've got my, bills that I take every day. I still have appointments with over the phone with my psychiatrist, and that's every couple of months or so. And man, everything is going great. That's sort of why I haven't made an update for a while, and that's sort of why this is running long, and that's sort of why I wanted to update more often, so that I wouldn't have these long updates like this, which I know is torture for everybody involved. But yeah, I'm just doing well. So that's it. I guess that's the updates. Doing good. Thumbs up. I recommend the RV life to anybody that wants to remain single. It doesn't do well on dating profiles, but besides that, I don't think it's too big of an issue. So far, I haven't made the best decisions with dating. So, cross my fingers for the future. But for now, I'm fine the way that I am. Thumbs up for the RV life. Thumbs up for the life out here in the country. Thumbs up for life without building codes. Big thumbs up for that. Because that just opened the door. But so far, so good. Love it. And I'll be at Lewis and Clark Community College for the fall. Chemistry says that it's web blended, but lab says that it's in the nursing building. So am I going there in a full body hazard suit? Are we going to maintain social distancing 6 feet apart? Is it just going to be filmed there? I don't know. I have no idea. But thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. I'm doing well. So that's the updates. Okay, bye.